Hey, this is Angela. I'm your host of Real Estate Ladies Lounge, and this is part two with my beautiful co-host, Rose, who is a lender, and we're going to go over investment properties, investment condos, basically, because, we live on the Gulf of America, and there's a lot of things that people need to know when it comes to investment properties, what loan products are out there, how the whole investment property scene works. So I'll let Rose go into it because she's got a couple of loan products that we can go over and discuss each one. And thank you, Rose, for having me out today.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's it's just a beautiful day out here, and it's warm. I know I'm getting red on my arms.
We're getting our tan on while working.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's a win-win.
What better day?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, thanks for having me. As you know, I'm Rose Mortgage Gal with Magnolia Mortgage, and we are taking and working on investment loans now. And, today I have two of those closing that, we bought condos in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, Alabama. And we actually use the rental comps for those.
Okay.
So let's go into a little more detail of that because it is a little confusing out there for most.
It is, especially if you're looking to just start getting into short-term rentals. It's really confusing, which again, it comes into the professionals that you use. You need to have a real estate agent that knows and understands everything about condos and each condo that you're looking at, because you have your HOAs, you have your the management fees. Sometimes, some of these condos have different companies that take care of it. And so you really need to know the ins and outs of all that. And then plus the insurance assessment fees. That's a huge thing down here now.
Yes, we used to only have assessments if there is a major repair. Now we have, a continuous battle with insurance fees. And those are allowing, the assessments to come in, but it also keeps our HOA dues down. So, it's a win-win,
But it's kind of like
it's a little bit of a balance.
Exactly. And ideally, you would want the condo to pay for itself. And so knowing which condo complex is a good thing too, because you want to know what your ROI is going to be. You want to know what it is that you're going to have to, pay in to what you're going to have to get out and start making money with it. So, but there's a bunch of different loan products out there too, and I just want you to touch base on some of those loan products.
So, on the investment side, if we're doing, depending on the condo or the home, we can use a conventional loan, just like you would buying your primary home. Obviously, the rates are going to be a little higher on the investments, but we also have to make sure that our condos are getting approved through the conventional route. Being in a resort market, we're going to be very honest, most of those condos are not going to be a conventional loan.
Right.
So it's very, very important to have an agent that understands the condo market. Being in a resort area, our conventional loans through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are not going to get approved overall, and that's simply because of insurance. That's short-term rentals, that investorship concentration in there, hinders that, because that's not what Fannie and Freddie were made for the conventional loan. So we are doing a lot of, non-QM loans for our condos. We can use income, from your taxes, your W-2s, things like that to close those. But the big popular one right now that we're doing a lot on is what we call a DSCR. It's a debt service coverage ratio loan, to where I'm not going to pull in your income, your W-2s, your tax returns, any of that. We're actually going to use the rentals, the rental comps from the property. And that's why it's really important to have a lender and definitely have an agent that actually understands that market, because you don't want to get into a loan situation to where the condo doesn't actually have the ROI on it, to cover itself. Because that's basically what we're doing on the debt service coverage ratio. We're covering itself inside that mortgage.
Yes.
So,
and it the whole process is actually can take a very quick amount of time versus conventional with the condos and all that. and because you don't have all these other things, I still recommend, you know, getting an inspection done, because that's going to be a good bargaining chip for you. If there's any kind of issues or anything, any safety issues that are outdated, electrical, plumbing, those are the things that you want to have taken care of. I don't want to say that all the condos down here are all within their upgrades and they have no issues with that, but there's a lot, because we've had some that were built in, you know, 1980s. So,
Yes.
so you're looking at some of these that have not had their plumbing changed or anything like that. So that's why you always want to have a home inspection done on a condo, and then you can actually see, you know, if there's any issues that might pop up on down the line
Again,
with that.
It's your investment.
Right.
So
I mean,
why wouldn't you?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but basically, the simple math there is if you're, you know, rentals are coming in at $4,000 a month, you know, to you need that to be able to cover your mortgage. So if your mortgage is $4,500 with your taxes, your principal, interest, you know, association dues, and all of that, then you're already upside down. So that's
Right.
not going to work. You know, we need that projection to be a little higher than that mortgage. There's other ways that we can do that, though. You bring a little more money down, we make it work. You know, so it just depends on what you're looking at. But those start with about 20% down on the condos, and I always like to say there's a little sweet spot of 25%,
Yeah.
because the rate's going to look a little better. Because it's not just you that we're doing the loan for, right? We're making sure that the HOA complex actually, you know, the condo complex actually gets approved also.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things there.
There's so many different moving parts when you're dealing with condos or any kind of short-term rental properties. You know, we have a lot of beach homes out here too. Some of them are in a no HOA, which is great.
Yes.
Fabulous, because that's one less step that you have to deal with. But then, you know, again, when you have the HOAs, you have to have an agent that is not afraid to call and not afraid to contact who they need to contact and research it. Because sometimes you may not have the correct information
Correct.
that is on the MLS. The list agent may not have the correct information. So,
We just had that happen on one of our properties that we are closing today, you know?
Yeah.
And we had to go back through to the master HOA treasurer and then back over to the insurance agent that actually, you know, oversees the
whole
insurance for the complex. So
and just
it's a
as,
lot.
It is a lot. And just as a side note too, Alabama is a buyer beware,
Yes.
which means buyers are responsible to do their due diligence. So if you're out of state, who do you rely on? Your agent and your lender, because a lot of these lenders, Rose has dealt with probably every one of these condos down here. She
It
knows
seems like
all
it.
the, you know, she knows all the complexes. She knows everything that you have to get into and all that. So she already works with that, and so that is another thing that kind of helps, you know, make the process a little bit easier. So yeah, what
One
else?
of, one of the things that, you know, you just kind of made me think about is making sure to, you know, use a local lender when you're doing an investment property, simply because they do know the area. And I just had a situation, and you know, it's one that we are, it's kind of crazy. It's another one that we're closing today. Is he had an out of town lender, and he was going to his bank, you know, back in another state. And the problem there is they will tell you over and over that there's no issues with getting the condo approved, but most bank and credit unions are doing conventional loans.
Yes.
Well, most of these condos are not going to fall into that category overall.
So
you know.
that is funny you say that, because I was the list agent for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo at the Cove Condominiums, which is across the street from the beach. And we had those kinds of issues where the lender, we had to switch lenders because they didn't know. So
I get a lot of those calls.
yeah, so she's the lady to call. But hopefully you got really good information from both of us on how to handle the investments and for condos and things like that. And you know, if you do have any questions, you feel free to reach out. Feel free to call us and say, hey, walk me through this. more than happy to help you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the best thing to do is talk to us. Let's set a plan in place and actually, get to the point where we're actually ready to buy.
Yeah. So, all right. So, anyway, thank you for joining in on the Real Estate Ladies Lounge podcast with Rose, and we're poolside, and so we're going to enjoy the rest of the day poolside because it's nice.
So nice.
So, y'all have a good day, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.